Hey everyone, Anya here from ourgabledhome.com, and in this video I'm going to show you very basic crochet and knit stitches. In the past I have shared some crafts projects on this channel, and oftentimes I get these comments, oh, I wish you could teach us how to crochet and how to knit. And because going forward I would like to share more knitting and crocheting projects on this channel, I thought that in this video I will teach those of you who don't know quite yet how to crochet or knit, how to do so. And I'm going to start with crocheting because it's really easy, and then we move on to knitting, which is just a step up from crocheting. And obviously you will need a crochet needle, and I have used a very thick one so that you can see easily what I'm doing. You will need 2 knitting needles, and I'm going to leave a bunch of these supplies in the description box below this video, so if you don't have any of these, you know how to find them. And then I chose a very thick yarn. Thick yarn for beginners has the advantage that you will see progress really quickly, and also you see what's going on, and it's easier if you're not quite even, that the project still looks fairly even. The smaller the yarn, the more you see any little unevenness and so forth. One thing I do want to mention is that I'm a little bit self-conscious about my hands because I do not think that they are very elegant. I love what they can do, but because I'm going to show you, my hands will be in focus and you can see that, and I just want to get my own little self-awareness out of the way so that you know how I feel, and that's that. So let's begin with crocheting. The first thing we do is to make a slip knot by pulling the loop through this knot and tighten it a little bit, and then tighten it just around the crochet hook. Now we have a little kitty coming on. You need to put her away. I always like to check in on my activities. So that's our first stitch. Now I wrap the yarn around my pinky and twice around my index finger because I feel like that gives me the most control over the tension of the yarn. And then I take my crochet hook, grab the yarn, wrap it around, turn it just like so, and pull it right through. That's a stitch. And slowly again, pull it through, and there we go. So we'll just continue doing that very slowly. You get the hang of that pretty quickly. It's one of the most basic and easiest way to learn it. And just continue. Wrap and pull through. Wrap, grab, and pull through. And here I'm doing it in slow motion so you can really see what I'm doing. And you could use this while you're doing your own. And here's our chain that we could use in itself for a drawstring. And we will not use the first stitch, but the second stitch to go through 2, and then we pull the yarn through, and we have 2 loops on our hook, and then grab the yarn and pull that through these 2. So that's 1 stitch, and then we do that again, making sure we go into the whole stitch with 2 loops on top, pull through, and just like so. Into the hole, grab the yarn, have 2 loops on your hook, and pull the yarn through both. can simply practice that for a little bit. And that's your single crochet stitch. You can just continue practicing that. It might take you a little bit until you finally get the hang of it, and to also make sure that your stitches come out evenly, how much you have to pull them out, and it's just a matter of practice. So we'll just go to the end of this row so I can show you how to turn it around and go back for the next row. So here we add one more chain stitch, turn it around, go into the stitch, wrap the yarn, have 2 loops, grab it one more time, and pull it through. So that's really all you do. I'm just going to continue crocheting a few more rows, and then I'll show you what it looks like, the work from both sides. And here's the final work. You can see that it looks the same from both sides. It's very basic single chain stitch work. And if yours doesn't come out quite as evenly, don't worry about it. Just keep on practicing. And I used 12 stitches, so you could make that wider. And the most fun part is unraveling your work, either because you want to try it all over again, or because you want to do something different, or because you keep on practicing. Kids especially love to unravel it. You can see how simple it is and how quickly it goes in comparison to how long it might take you to actually do the work. And moving on to knitting, here are my 2 knitting needles. They're fairly big, and they have these wooden stoppers at the end so that your work doesn't slide off the needles. They are a size 11, so like I said, pretty thick. And we need to cast on stitches. There's different ways you could do that. Here is one method that I really like. It's actually very simple once you get the hang of it. So you take a little bit of yarn and basically fold it in half, and stick your index finger and thumb right through from the top and flip your hand over. Insert your index finger and thumb, spread them apart, flip over, and hold the yarn with your pinky and your ring finger. And now take 2 knitting needles and go into the first one, and then the one from the index finger, and that's your first stitch, and you just pull it tight gently. And we'll do that one more time. So same thing, index finger and thumb go through, flip up, get the yarn from the thumb and the one from the index finger, pull it through the loop at the thumb and pull it tight. So now we have 2 stitches, and just simply repeat that process of inserting the 2 fingers, flipping them up. So you have a loop by your thumb, you go in there with your 2 needles and get the yarn from the index finger and pull it through and pull that stitch tight. And again, once you get the hang of it, this goes pretty quick. You might have to retighten the yarn in your left hand as you go. Pull it tight. And we'll cast on a few more stitches, and I'm going to let you watch this, and you can practice along as you're watching this until you get the hang of it. here we are. I think we have about 12 stitches on here, and we'll pull one needle out and make sure that we don't knit with the end that's shorter, that doesn't go anywhere. I'm using the same technique to wrap my yarn around my pinky finger and twice around my index finger. And then for the first real knit stitch, hold the needle in your left hand, use your right hand, and from the front go into the first stitch, grab the yarn, and sometimes it helps to use your thumb to push it on the needle, pull it through, and slip the stitch off the needle. From the front, in between the stitch, go to the back. Yeah, sometimes it comes off the first needle. Go around, grab the yarn, pull it through. It's actually harder when you do it slow than when you do it fast. That's what I'm just noticing. So here we go. You can use your thumb to push it on and use your other thumb to keep it on. From the front and the back, grab the yarn, pull it through, and the stitch off the needle. We'll continue with that to finish this row. And this might take a little bit longer to get the hang of because you're using two hands and two needles. But again, just be patient and practice. Oops, slipped off again. Like I said, it's almost a little harder to go very slow. Here's your first row. And then to turn around, you simply turn the needle around. Your right needle becomes your left needle. And very simple. Go into the first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and continue on. So here I've done a few rows, and as you can see, it looks the same from the front and the back, just like the crochet with a simple knit stitch. You're just knitting in the back and forth rows. It's a very basic and pattern, and sometimes that is the desired pattern. Again, this is what it looks from the front and the back. It's identical. But now I'm going to show you your other stitch, your other basic stitch, the purl stitch. And the fun part, unraveling, depending on why you're unraveling. And I'm going to cast on more stitches, and then I'll show you the purl stitch. So here we go. Here are my stitches, and I'm going to show you the purl stitch, making sure I'm using the right end of the yarn, not the one that's really short, but the longer one. Wrap it around my fingers. And what's different now is that I come from the back and go forward. I'll wrap it around and pull it through. Like I said, it's actually surprisingly challenging to do it slow, and for a moment I had to think about how I do it, because I usually do it very fast. And again, you can use your index finger to help it along a little bit. As you go faster, it's actually a little easier, and you develop a little bit of momentum. So that's your purl stitch. You come from the back into the front and pull it out. So I will continue this row, and then in the back row
I will knit the stitch that I showed you before, and in the back row I will purl. I will fast forward a little bit and then show you what that looks like. So here you can see that the front side has that knitted look and the back side has that purled look. You can check in your closet for knitted sweaters and see if you can recognize that pattern. That gives you a little bit more finished front side. And here I've done a few more rows just to show you a little bit better. A little swatch here, a little square of very nice knitted look front side, and the back side, that's all purl. So remember to go in the one row you only do knit stitches, and in the back row you do purl stitches, and that gives you this kind of look. Very nice. And those are very basic knitting stitches. You can do all sorts of patterns with different variations and alternating between the one and the other, but those are a bit more complicated, so I suggest that you practice these two stitches first, and even if you just practice a knit stitch until you get the hang of it, and then add the purl stitch at a later point.
Again, here's my knitted work. It's just a little swatch, just a little practice piece. And a few things about it. If you're just beginning to crochet or knit, and especially knitting, be really nice and kind to yourself and compassionate, because practice makes perfect. If your work doesn't look like this, these stitches are fairly even, don't worry about it. Just unravel and try again. It may take your body a while to get into the rhythm and into this habit and to get the dexterity to do it. It's not complicated, it's not difficult, it just takes a little bit of practice. And I encourage you to stick with it and try it out. And if it doesn't work, just try it again another time. You will get the hang of it. It's really simple, and these are the most basic stitches. There are so many more stitches that you can do, really complicated, beautiful patterns and different colors. So I just wanted to show you the very most basic crochet and knit stitches, so that in the future, when I bring knitting and crochet projects to this channel, that you can go back to this video and watch it and or brush up on your skills. Also, as you may have noticed, I am using the continental method, which is for knitting, basically holding the needles like this and knitting like this, instead of putting the yarn through and then using one hand to wrap it around, which is the English or the American method. I can tell you that I grew up with the continental method. I personally think it's a little faster and a little bit more efficient. However, I know a lot of people who use the American method, and they're very quick and efficient with it. So it's just a matter of personal preference. If you would rather learn the American method, I'm sure that there's ways that you can learn that. I am teaching you what I have grown up with and what I love to do and what I feel like I'm really good at. I hope you enjoyed this quick little tutorial video. I always love it when you give me a thumbs up, and especially if you're new on this channel, to hit the subscribe button and to turn on the bell notifications so you get a little message when I upload a new video every Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for watching here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.